We start in Mozambique, which has been reeling from 5 years of conflict and a violent insurgency in the northern Cabo Delgado province. More than 4,000 people have been killed and nearly 1 million were forced to flee their homes. While attacks on civilians continue, some areas are now under government control after troops from southern Africa and Rwanda were deployed to help fight the insurgency. DW was given rare access to join Rwandan soldiers on patrol in Mozambique de Praia, where the situation is slowly returning to normal.
A year ago, this town was run by Islamist insurgents. Their main base was at the airport, but these troops chased them away, Rwandan forces supporting Mozambique. Today, life is slowly getting back to normal. Those who fled are returning.
People were killed here. They were murdered. They were slaughtered, cut into pieces. So we ran away. But now that there's peace, we've decided to come back.
At the beach, the people resume their livelihoods and go out fishing again. Calm has also returned to the village of Kinga. Displaced residents, like Abdallah Pinti, back home after a whole year away seeking refuge.
There were gunshots, so we ran out of the house. And then my father fell. We looked back and then my mother said, "Abdallah, your father has been shot. Look, he's not getting up." His body was left there for 3 days.
When Abdallah Pinti came back, he found his home had been looted, but at least not burned down like many others. Now he's trying to farm again.
Lots of the young people have no work. They sit there doing nothing. But since the Rwandan army arrived, we've had peace. My mother and I can go to work in the fields again.
While the residents are relieved to be back, they're not happy with their government, which failed to protect them from the brutal insurgents. They also accuse government troops of heavy-handedness when they eventually arrived.
We expected better from our countrymen. When they meet us on the streets, they stop us and they mistreat us instead of going after the enemy. At one of their checkpoints, a young man on a motorcycle fell. The soldiers all started beating him until he died. They've killed a lot of people. It's not good.
Soldiers deny the accusations, and Mozambique's defense ministry has not responded to our questions on the claims. What's certain, though, is the conflict is far from over. In fact, it's moving further south, where attacks on villages are reported almost daily, now even in neighboring provinces like Nampula, farther away from where the troops from Rwanda and the regional bloc SADC are based.
Will keep moving southwards, so that is expected. So you just need to maintain vigilance. The forces, the SADC as well as our own forces, will maintain vigilance in the areas that we occupy. And for the areas that are beyond Cabo Delgado, like Nampula, the Mozambican forces will need to also up their game.
That increased vigilance will be vital here because the residents worry the threat could still return.
Well, earlier I spoke to Fernando Lima. He is a journalist and political commentator based in Maputo, and I began by asking him what impact the Rwandan troops and the Southern African troops have had in this fight against the insurgency.
The Rwandan troops are the backbone of the government's fight against insurgency in Cabo Delgado. They are the most effective force there. As you know, there are also SADC troops, which is the regional coalition that have about more than 2,000 troops in Cabo Delgado. But the real effective force in Cabo Delgado is the Rwandan army and the Rwandan police. And they have been stretched in my point of view, too much in the last few months in order to address other military situations in other parts of Cabo Delgado. But their job in districts like Mozambique de Praia and Palma have been very, very good and all military analysts are convinced that their job and their presence there have been crucial in order to stop violence in those two districts, which are the strategic districts for the oil and gas projects there.
Now, at the same time, there are also strong accusations against the Mozambique soldiers for using excessive violence against civilians, and even authorities are accused of corruption. What more do you know about those human rights violations committed by Mozambican troops?
The Mozambican army does not have proper training, and so lack of discipline is part of that training that they should have, but they do not have. And so this means that disgruntled units, instead of portray their mission, they go to the population, abuse women, and arrest families in looking for food, for example. And why are they looking for food? Because they do not have enough food in their military units, so they then arrest the population trying to feed themselves with the population they are supposed to protect.
And given all that, how confident are you that the Mozambican authorities would be able to reinstate peace?
Well, I think it will take time. Military specialists believe that it will take at least 3 years in order to have a proper army handling the situation in Cabo Delgado.
And now, more broadly, looking at what's behind this conflict, is there a connection between the armed group and the fight for Mozambique's natural resources?
What I think it's unique in Cabo Delgado is a combination of factors in which you unite poverty, you unite frustration, but you also have this kind of cement that unite people for a cause, which is religion, and Islamic clerics distance themselves from this insurgency, but you can find some kind of arguments about a certain Islam which is disclaimed by mainstream Islam, which unite these people. And then you have the connection, loose or not, you have the connection with the Islamic State, in which now Mozambique is considered a province. So this is the melting pot that probably have put all these people united and fighting together. So yes, there are lots of factors that explain what's going on in Cabo Delgado, but no, I don't think that the natural resources and exploration of natural resources are the main causes, because we have natural resources in other parts of Mozambique, and we do not have any armed conflicts in other parts of the country.
OK, that is Fernando Lima speaking to us from Maputo. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Now, we briefly touched on how much of Mozambique is rich in natural resources. Cabo Delgado has huge gas and gold reserves, and also the biggest ruby mine in the world. DW's Adrian Krish visited the mine in the northern town of Montepuez to see if the country's wealth and revenue is reaching the people who need it.
The ruby mine is on heightened alert. The attacks by insurgents are getting closer, and the violence is only one of the problems facing the security team.
Let the boys get in and they start blocking the routes again, please, because these kids are just coming to make trouble.
Every day, up to 200 people illegally enter the open cast mine, hoping to share in the region's mineral wealth. Using simple tools, they dig tunnels up to 15 meters deep. The mine uses drone pilots to track the illegal mining, coordinating with the security team.
Keep going. Okay, here. Stop.
This time only one of the men is caught. he'll go straight to jail and could face a sentence of up to 5 years.
Please, I have a 4-year-old daughter and a wife.
You feel sorry for these guys because if you look at the area they move in, I mean, yes, there is a mine here. Yes, we can only accommodate so many people in terms of employment. You can't give employment to everyone. Just in this vicinities of our mine, we're looking at about 80,000 displaced people from Montepias up to Nanjua. What do that people do for an income? They get involved in this.
In a village in the middle of the mine concession, we meet a group of young men, artisanal miners. They say they have no other options. None of them got a job at the mine.
We're suffering here. There's no work. I have no choice but to search for rubies. And it's not lucrative either. I just came back from digging 10 shafts and I found nothing. But still, they hunt us down and arrest us, even if we don't have anything.
The company shows off its social projects, farms, mobile health clinics and schools. But above all, it pays plenty of taxes, says mine manager Claudius Nongonema.
Upwards of 25% of our gross revenues have been paid to the government in terms of production taxes and royalties. And that's a significant amount of money.
But how much of that reaches the people here? A government representative in the region shows us a list of projects and asks for patience.
In the past, this district wasn't like it is today. We didn't have the health facilities that we have now. In the villages around the mine, there are classrooms for the school children. There is growth happening. But I don't believe anyone expects us to become rich overnight with all these resources.
But there isn't much time left for the region's poorest to get some benefit from the gemstone wealth. In as little as 10 years, the ruby reserves here could be exhausted. Poverty and the lack of prospects are plain to see. Some who don't try to get their hands on rubies rely on catching rodents to feed their families.